Hey guys, it's Katya. I've been reading so many books lately that I wanted to do a book review series. I literally have like 16 books just waiting to be reviewed, but I thought I would start with the Pretty Little Liars series because this woman was on crack when she wrote them. I always find it so interesting when TV shows start from books so you can see the differences. There are so many differences. There are 16 Pretty Little Liar books. They should have stopped at 4, but I'll get into that later. So for this video, I'm gonna focus on the first 4 books of Pretty Little Liars, which is basically season 1 of the TV show. These are the most accurate books. There's still a lot of differences, but yeah, I'm gonna do all 16. So if you wanna see those, where the plot just literally flies out the window, stay tuned. Okay, so first we have Pretty Little Liars by Sarah Shepard. I want to start by reading the back of the book. Everyone has something to hide, especially high school juniors Spencer, Arya, Emily, and Hannah. Spencer covets her sister's boyfriend. Arya is fantasizing about her English teacher. Emily's crushing on a new girl at school. Hannah uses some ugly tricks to stay beautiful, but they've all kept an even bigger secret since their friend Allison vanished. How do I know? Because I know everything about the bad girls they were, the naughty girls they are, and all the dirty secrets they've kept. And guess what? I'm telling. It's very childishly written. Just a warning. Like, Sarah Shepard must have been 12 when she wrote these books. I'm not sure, but that's what I would theorize. Let's get into the plot of book 1. So, just like the show, we begin. Allison disappears the summer before 8th grade. So they kind of made them a little younger in the books. So I'm gonna go through the plot lines by each girl. So we start with Emily, who just found out that Maya St. Germain just moved into Allison's old house. Just like the show, they smoke weed together, they get a little closer. They start hanging out every day after school, and then one of these times, Maya kisses Emily on the walk home. Immediately after, Emily gets a text from A threatening to spill everything. So this makes Emily a little scared, but she's like, I don't know who this person is, whatever. So her and Maya go to Noel Kahn's party together. They end up kissing in that photo booth and the pictures are printed out. Emily's boyfriend Ben actually finds the pictures in the photo booth and throws his cup of beer on Emily. And then at the end of the book, Allison's body is eventually found in Maya's backyard. So basically, in the first book, we have like Emily and Maya's entire season 1 story arc. As for Arya returns from Iceland after 2 years abroad, so they kind of lengthened that a little. She drops her brother Mike off at lacrosse practice at the school and then goes to a nearby college bar where she meets Ezra. Just like in the pilot, they end up making out in the bathroom. How she gets served at the bar, no one knows, that's fine. The next day, obviously, she goes to school and Ezra is her new English teacher, and then she gets a text from A threatening to tell everyone what they did. Arya is not that scared yet, so she goes to Ezra after class and she's like trying to convince him to still date her, and he's like, no sir, you are my student. To make him jealous, she starts flirting with student Noel Kahn, which is the guy who throws the party later. And it actually works. This actually makes Ezra jealous and he ends up inviting her over. So instead of the party, Arya goes to Ezra's house. But while Arya's at Ezra's house, he sees the text from A and he's like, oh, I thought you were more mature than telling your friends, and he breaks up with her. So pretty accurate so far. Now Hannah's storyline is where things get a little different. So Hannah's introduced as the new it girl who used to be a little overweight, and it's said in the book that she loses the weight from bulimia, which she actually still has throughout this whole series. So I thought that was a little different. She becomes best friends with Mona Vanderwall, who was also a loser back when Allison was around, and now they're the popular girls who shoplift together. And just like in the show, Hannah gets arrested for shoplifting and her mom offers to sleep with the police officer Darren Wilden to get her off. And then at Noel Kahn's party, Hannah tries to sleep with her boyfriend Sean, who's like the preacher's son, and he's like, no, I gotta wait till marriage, which makes her very insecure, and she steals his car and crashes it. And then we have Spencer, who is also described as like one of the popular girls, not as popular as Hannah, but like she's blonde and she's like basically the smart popular girl. So Spencer's older sister Melissa is inviting her future fiance Red Kingston to dinner. Melissa tells Spencer Spencer that she and Ren are moving into the barn, which her parents promised to Spencer because she's the one who redid the whole barn. So for revenge for this, Spencer starts an affair with Melissa's fiance. And then she gets a text from A saying, you just love stealing your sister's boyfriends, don't you? Because, spoiler alert, this is not the first time. So Melissa eventually catches Ren and Spencer kissing, even though Spencer at the time was actually calling it off because she started to feel bad because Melissa was kind of being nice to her. But it didn't look like that. It kind of looked like Spencer was making out with Ren. So Melissa tells her whole family and they literally ostracize Spencer. Like, they give her the complete silent treatment. And because of this, Spencer and Ren keep secretly dating. Now, at the end of the book is where all the girls finally talk for the first time in the whole book. They are not friends, just like in the pilot episode. So they all meet up for the first time at Allison's funeral after they find the body in Maya's yard. That's when they see Jenna Kavanaugh and her stepbrother Toby, who is a blind girl that they're all kind of being really sus about, and they're like, what is she doing back here? Oh my gosh, do you remember the Jenna thing? And we're like, what is that? And that's the first time A texts them all together saying, like, I know what you did and you're gonna pay. And that is the end of book 1. So book 2 is called Perfect. This is the back cover. Arya can't resist her forbidden ex. Hannah's on the verge of losing her BFF. Emily's freaking out over a simple kiss, and Spencer can't keep her hands off anything that belongs to her sister. Lucky me, I know these pretty little liars better than they know themselves, but it's hard keeping all their secrets to myself. They better do what I say or else. So book 2 actually starts with a flashback of Allison in the 6th grade. The whole gang is there. Allison, Emily, Arya, Spencer, and Hannah. They're all giving each other makeovers. Suddenly, Allison sees Toby Kavanaugh, Jenna's brother, spying on them through the window. And unlike the show, he is actually there spying on them. As revenge for this, Allison devises a plan saying basically, I'm gonna shoot a bottle rocket into his tree house just for revenge. The girls are not on board, but she convinces them because she's Allison. So they go, they shoot the bottle rocket into the treehouse and it ends up exploding. The treehouse is on fire, and then later they find out that Jenna was inside and not Toby. This explosion causes Jenna to go blind. The girls are freaking out, but then they hear Toby confesses to the crime, doing it himself, when they all know it was Allison. Allison makes everyone promise to never speak of what actually happened that night, and the girls are still confused why Toby would even confess to the crime. So in present time, they're all after Allison's funeral, they're talking and they're like, who do we think A is? And Spencer is kind of convinced that it's Toby. So then we go to each of the girls' storylines. We're starting with Hannah. She gets back home after the funeral and sees her dad there, which is weird because they're divorced and he does not live there. Her parents make her volunteer at her boyfriend Sean's family's burn clinic to pay off for the car damages. Throughout this book, Hannah's very determined to win Sean back. She joins the virginity club at school to show him that, like, yes, I can wait, I'll do anything for you. Also, Hannah's dad is actually trying to get to know her for once, so he's inviting her to stay at his house for the weekend with his new fiance and their stepdaughter. There's a huge school dance happening on the weekend that this is supposed to happen, but Hannah's like so excited. She's like, yes, I'm finally getting to know my dad. So while she's there, over at her dad's for the weekend, they're all at dinner, and A sends Hannah a text that Sean took another girl to the dance. Hannah runs to the bathroom. She's so upset, and her stepsister Kate follows her in. She's like, what's wrong? Hannah tells her, and Kate's like, dude, you have to go to the dance. You have to confront Sean. How dare he bring another girl? And as a thank you, Hannah gives Kate some Percocet pills that she stole while volunteering at Sean's family's clinic, which, excuse me? So Hannah ditches dinner without telling anyone and goes to the dance and finds that the girl Sean brings is Arya. We'll get into that later. They have a huge confrontation. I'll get into that later, but when Hannah comes back to the dinner, she realizes that Kate sold her out. Not only said she ditched dinner, but she tells him about the Percocet pills that Hannah gave her, and her dad stops talking to her again. Now for Emily. So Emily's very nervous because Ben saw those pictures. He knows that she and Maya were kissing in the photo booth, so they start meeting up at this hotel. Maya's like, Emily, I think we should be more than friends. This is gonna come out eventually, and Emily's still scared. She's like, absolutely not. She gets so scared that she actually breaks up with Maya. So trying to go on with her life, Emily goes to swim practice, and then after, she runs into Ben, who's in the women's locker room, and he's like, trying to get Emily to make out with him to prove that she's not gay, which ends up being very assaulty. And just like in the show, Toby bursts in the locker room and saves her. But unlike in the show, Emily actually starts getting a crush on Toby while they're talking. They even kiss, and she asks him to the dance. And like in the show, it's like, oh, it's a mistake, I wanted to go with Maya, but no, she like actually likes Toby. So at the dance, Ben attacks Emily again, and she ends up defending herself. She also runs into Maya at the dance, and Maya's like, I will wait forever for you. Emily's had enough. She's like, I've been attacked, I've been confronted, Toby, just drive me home, please. And in the car, Emily eventually comes out to him. So in the books, I'm pretty sure Emily is bisexual. It never explicitly says, but she ends up dating more men in the future series, so I'm gonna say she comes out as bisexual to Toby. They start talking, they have a heart-to-heart in which Toby eventually admits that he is glad Allison is dead. When he says this, Emily's like, oh my god, maybe Spencer was right, maybe Toby is A. So she jumps out of the car, she runs home. Toby's trying to get in her house, like, let me explain. She's like, no, locks the door, whatever, until he eventually stops. And then the plot twist of the century for people who watch the show, it's announced on the news the next day that Toby commits suicide and he is actually dead. Everyone's confused. They're like, oh my god, so he did kill Allison and like Emily caught him red-handed, so he killed himself. No. Jenna comes by and explains everything to Emily eventually. She says that Toby had been assaulting Jenna the entire time, and like, actually, I know in the show it's the other way around, but in the books, Toby was assaulting Jenna against her will. And he would do it always in the tree house. And Jenna and Allison were actually friends. So Jenna told Allison this, and they devised a plan together to launch the bottle rocket in the tree house to make it burn, so Toby wouldn't have the place to assault Jenna anymore. I guess the plans got confused. Jenna was not supposed to be in the tree house, but she was, and she was blinded, but she does not blame the girls for that whatsoever because it was her plan. So the whole thing of like Jenna hating them does not exist in these books. And then Emily finds out that this is what Allison was blackmailing Toby with. She said, if you don't take the blame, I'm gonna tell everyone what you've been doing to Jenna in the treehouse. So he did, and he was sent away, which Jenna was happy with even though she was blind. So that's the Jenna thing in the books. Now we'll get to Arya's storyline in the book. Arya's parents are arguing, so Arya wants to take her brother Mike out of the house, so they go to a bar. How? Her brother is like 15? I don't know. They've been there for a while, and then eventually their dad walks in with Meredith. It's revealed that the whole reason they went to Iceland is because Arya caught her dad with Meredith kissing, cheating on her mom. That's why they moved, and she's kept it a secret ever since. So when Mike sees them together, this is new to him, but Arya's like, I know this bitch. I can't believe he's still with her. Mike storms off so angry, and then Arya's driving home and her car breaks down, and who drives by? Sean, Hannah's ex-boyfriend. So they're talking in the car. Arya's venting to him about Meredith and her dad, and eventually they get close and Sean asks Arya to the dance. That's how they got there. Then throughout the book, Arya keeps warning Meredith to stay away from her dad. She's not listening, and eventually A sends a letter to her mom telling her everything and very clearly saying that Arya knew this whole time for 2 years. After this letter, everything blows up. Her dad moves in with Meredith. Her mom actually blames Arya for not telling her way more than she does in the show. Like, she stops talking to her daughter. And finally, we get to Spencer. So after Spencer's family finds out about Spencer and Ren, they cut her off by not talking to her, and also financially, so she is broke. Out of spite, she still continues to date Ren secretly. But the dance is coming up. She obviously can't take Ren, so she asks this guy who has a crush on her, Andrew Campbell, to kind of be like a beard for her date because Melissa's gonna be at the dance. Also in this book is when Spencer is like so overwhelmed with the Ren stuff, with school, with her family, and she doesn't have time to write a certain paper, so she steals Melissa's old paper and submits it to the school. Then by the end of the book, she's like continuing to fake date Andrew, and he eventually finds out that she doesn't actually like him and breaks up with her. So Spencer's like, you know what? I'm just gonna be with Ren out in the open. My family hates me anyways. And she's calling Ren and he's not answering, and it turns out that Ren ghosted her after they slept together. At the end of the book, Spencer finds out he ghosted her because he's back together with Melissa. Basically, Spencer loses everything for no reason. So still, we're kind of still on track with everything except Ren is not in love with Spencer in this book. This video is way too long, so I'm cutting it into 2 parts. Those are the first 2 books, and the next 2 books are coming up next. Bye!